Hi, my name is Reed Silverne. The name of the show is Fed Pride. The reason it's called Fed Pride is because I'm a federal worker and proud of it. Nobody in my agency or any other agency of the federal government has reviewed the material that I'm about to say, and the main reason is even I don't know what I'm about to say. Well, it's 2 weeks from the election, and I had gone through over the last couple times and in great detail my vision of what the polls are and how the polls should work. And I showed some charts the last time and the time before with a moving average, and showed basically that within the margin of error there really wasn't very much movement as far as the polls are concerned. Well, let's see how I did compared to all the rest of the world's pundits, and how against the actual results of the election. Here is my chart. I'm going to take my name and title off of it. I hope everybody can see the extra words that I put in there in blue. I don't know how easy it is to see out there. But basically what we saw in my last prediction, which is based on the moving average of the CNN poll over the 7 days before, and you can see Clinton is trending downward. The result was that I said that Clinton would get about 51% of the vote, Dole would get 36%, and Perot 9%, 4% undecided. And what really happened was Clinton got 49.9%, so he got below 51% by 1.1%. Dole did much, much better than I had predicted and that I had seen in the poll, even though he had a slight upward trend. And he got 41%, where the moving average was showing 36%. Perot got... I had him at 9%, and he only got 8.1%. So the accuracy of my moving average was okay, but not that great. Pretty close to what Clinton got, although I showed him having a slight majority. In fact, he got just under 50%. I showed Dole getting much, much worse than he actually got. And the main reason he got better than he did is because he captured that core of Republican voters, which is 40%, as he should, and as people should have expected. And there was one pollster, his name was John Zogby, who worked for, or he was an independent pollster, but he polled for Reuters News Service, which is an English company. And they came up, and he was showing only an 8.5% difference between Dole and Clinton in the Monday before the election, which was on Tuesday. So that's pretty good. And he had a very odd way of polling. He polled during the day and only before 9 o'clock at night. And he did 30% of his polling before 5:30, so he could pick up the stay-at-home moms. And he split his polls 34.5% Democrat, 34% Republican, and the rest independent. So he got a much, much higher Republican and independent input into his vote than Democrat, because he thinks that just random polling overstates Democrats, some of whom aren't going to vote. And apparently, whatever he was doing, he did a good job, because he was the most correct, and he got the pollster award. And as far as the pundits are concerned, apparently Morton Kondracki, according to the Washington Post, was the closest pundit, called the House, called the Senate, staying with the Republicans, and called Clinton the winner with under an absolute majority of the vote. And pretty close, a little off on the electoral vote. The worst pundit was Mary Matalin, who I listened to on the radio. She predicted that Dole would win. Not by a landslide, but that he would win. And she was really, really way off. So she got the award for the worst pundit of 1996. And there's a lot of interesting things out there. I went out there and I got the Washington Post. Naturally, 2 weeks after the election, everybody else pretty much done with their postmortems. The pundits have gone back to sleep. They're busy putting out their opinions on who's going to be the next Secretary of State and who's going to get the Secretary of Defense role. What are they going to do with Kenneth Starr and the Attorney General Janet Reno, and whether Clinton's going to get rid of her or not. There's every time there's an election, there's almost always a honeymoon period, and with the absolute vitriol and dislike and pretty much in some quarters hatred of Clinton among many of the Republicans, especially the Republican revolutionaries. It's kind of interesting to watch and see how is this honeymoon going to go? How long is the honeymoon going to last? Are the Republicans going to be really exploiting the scandals and the incredible number of scandals that have been going on, that have been getting a lot of publicity throughout the last 4 years? There's one question: what good is scandal mongering going to do now? It might irritate the president. If they actually beat the president, if they impeach him and throw him out of office, they have a very big danger of coming up with a more popular vice president, stepping into his place and actually winning and creating a new incumbent without the baggage that Clinton would have. So they would get rid of a lame duck and create a new pundit, a new incumbent who can run again and then again, which would be Al Gore. So is it really to the Republican advantage to try to drive Clinton out of office the way the Democrats drove Nixon out of office, for instance, in 1972 through 1974, which was the Watergate era? And do they really have that much on Clinton? We'll find out the next so often. Kenneth Starr has been very, very careful to appear like he's not a partisan, that he's doing a job, and that he's trying to be fair. But it's pretty hard to try to put that forward when, in fact, they're going after people that are close to Clinton for crimes that maybe thousands and thousands of people have done. How can I say that? Okay, let me give an example. Webb Hubbell pled no contest to a charge, basically, that he mischarged his time to his customers. Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe they should go in there. If that is a terrible law to break, and I admit cheating your customers is a pretty terrible law to break, and maybe they should just go out there and audit all the legal firms that mischarge and that even have some indication of mischarging their time. And I suspect that they'll be able to round up thousands and thousands of lawyers who have irregularities in their time cards and in their charging practices, not just the Rose Law Firm of Arkansas. And yet, the only lawyer that seems to have been indicted and convicted and pled no contest for mischarging on their billing sheets, Webb Hubbell of the Rose Law Firm, that just happens to be the firm that Hillary Clinton worked for. Similarly, the two bankers from the local bank in Little Rock that they had indicted and that they charged and actually ran a jury trial, except that the two bankers won the jury trial and Kenneth Starr lost. What they were charged for is accepting not donations but deposits from split campaign contributions. You know, there's a law against contributing too much for a specific individual or a specific organization to a campaign. And in this particular case, they split the campaign contribution, and the person who supposedly split the campaign contribution, who in fact was counted as an unindicted conspirator, was the head of Clinton's gubernatorial campaign way back. I'm not sure exactly what year, 1988 or whatever the year was, and that was Bruce Lindsay. Now, basically, I don't know how many bankers are out there that have accepted split campaign contributions. I'm sure that there's hundreds of campaign managers and pollsters and people in charge of campaigns throughout the country that are guilty of depositing split campaign contributions. And of course, who knows how many bankers are guilty of accepting them. And yet, if they gone out there and done a sweep tried to get every single person that's committed that crime. No, the only bankers that seem to be indicted for accepting a split campaign contribution just happened to be the bankers who handled Clinton's gubernatorial campaign. So I'm not saying that the whole thing is not right or anything like that. Certainly, Kenneth Starr has the right to do whatever he's doing. He's within the counsel law, the special prosecutor, what they call him, which also doesn't sound all that fair. I think special investigator or special counsel probably would be a much, much better title, because special prosecutor sounds like he's not out there to investigate, he's out there to prosecute. And he's out there to get his target, who, of course, is the President of the United States. So whether that's true or not, the appearance is there. I don't see hundreds and hundreds of law firms throughout the country getting the same treatment. I don't see hundreds and hundreds of banks and campaigns throughout the country getting the same treatment. I'm not sure that there's a campaign out there that hasn't accepted a split campaign contribution, that there's not a bank who's handled the campaign that's accepted split campaign contributions. I absolutely agree. That's against the law. It's wrong. They shouldn't do it. Everybody that breaks that law should be indicted. But if the only person who breaks that particular law just happens to be President Clinton's two bankers, that doesn't sound too fair. It doesn't look too good. Admittedly, there's a lot in Whitewater and in all these other charges. The foreign contribution that the Democrats took, that could be a serious thing. The FBI files controversy, where they accepted 900 FBI files and brought them over from the FBI for who knows what reason and who knows what was done with it. That could be a serious allegation. But until they prove something, I think people in general are really, really tired of the scandal mongering, and after 4 years, they've been saying, where is the smoking gun? And when are you going to get the guy that you're trying to get? And if you're not trying to get that guy, then what are you doing? Why are you spending all this money? And why are you going after obscure bankers in Little Rock and obscure lawyers in Little Rock if you're not trying to get Clinton and Hillary? You're not trying to get close to the president. And it's kind of a real wonder whether the conspiracy or the purpose of Kenneth Starr's investigation is going after Hubble or going after whoever. I mean, the Whitewater controversy, when it went through, indicted and convicted pretty much everybody for Whitewater and Whitewater-related crime. I mean, for Watergate and for Watergate-related crimes. I mean, people in the White House were convicted. There were a couple who were convicted of unrelated crimes. For instance, Agnew was convicted basically of corruption in the Maryland State House. Really nothing to do with Watergate. But most of them, John Dean, Mitchell, were convicted for the cover-up or the break-in, like Hunt and Liddy, and pretty much everybody was connected to the original scandal. And not just peripherally to the President of the United States. And that was pretty much true with the controversy over Iran-Contra, which was a major independent prosecutor situation. And they went after Ollie North, who handled the money and the transfer. They went after some of the other people in the administration. They went after the CIA agent Fernandez, who was there at the time. They went after people who had something either to do with Iran or something to do with the Contras, and or who knew about this situation. And they pretty much didn't go after people who had absolutely nothing to do with it. Now, some of the crimes were peripheral. For instance, one of the crimes that Ollie North was convicted for, that was overturned for a technicality, was that he allowed Seekerd to build a security wall, fence around his home, which is basically a bribe worth about $13,000. And that's one of the things they got him for. Now, that wasn't specifically related to Iran to the Contras, but it was related to his job because the person that bought it was the guy who pretty much engineered the actual operation to the Contras, and that was General Seekert. So there was a connection to what it is that they were investigating. And I'm starting to wonder, what is Kennistar doing, and when is he going to put these pieces together and say, everything I'm doing is connected with the investigation that I was set up to investigate. And of course, the Republicans have just thrown one scandal after another and given it to the same guy. So it's starting to become difficult to see what is his job and what is his role, and it's easy for that to be turned into, you're just after anybody who knows Hillary and Bill Clinton, and you're just trying to get anybody who can say something against them. And that's basically what Ann McDougal, the wife of McDougal, who was in Whitewater with him, and they were convicted of a completely unrelated charge that Clinton wasn't even a unindicted conspirator, co-conspirator in, and that he did mention and speak to one incident, but he wasn't charged with anything concerning that crime. So they basically went after, for a completely unrelated thing, the people who were involved in Whitewater, and to try to find out and force out of them what they know about Whitewater. And if they didn't, then why did this guy spend federal money going after that particular crime, that particular fraud, which is something the Justice Department should do, and they definitely should try to convict people of white-collar fraud. I absolutely believe that. But why that particular crime? Why that particular fraud if it had nothing to do with, or so little to do with Bill Clinton? And Bill Clinton wasn't the direct part of that particular investigation. Now they've gotten one step closer, this Casa Grande thing, and we'll see whether the Casa Grande thing really involves Hillary Clinton. But if it doesn't, he's got some explaining to do. He has to explain why he's going after these people, and whether he's going after these people because he knows they know something that Bill Clinton did wrong, or is he going after those people to shake them down and to convict them, and in return for a lighter sentence, to say something that Bill Clinton did wrong. So I don't really know how that's going to go, and we'll see. I mean, so far, Kenneth Starr seems to be a pretty good lawyer. I'm not absolutely sure how... oh, I have a call over here, and I'd be happy to take it. Hello, caller. Hello, caller.
Hello, Fred.
Yes.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. Who's this?
My name's Jack.
All right.
So, I just wanted to say, what do you think is going to happen with the, when the Fed meets with the interest rates there,
Ah, okay. That's
you guys both have the same name, Fed.
Yeah, that's a great question as far as the interest rates. The interest rates have been pretty stable. In actuality, the real interest rate, in other words, the actual mortgage rates have been going down in the last couple months, and that's one of the reasons you've been seeing the stock market go up. The Federal Reserve, which controls the money supply and directly controls one of the important interest rates, one of the ways they control the money supply, has decided not to raise interest rates because they're not afraid that there's going to be a lot of inflation. Are you still on the line, caller?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. What do you think?
Well, I think, that's probably pretty true, and I don't know what's going to happen in the future there, There's no telling when it's going to bust there, or, it's hard to tell these days.
Yeah. I have to apologize. I am turning you down while I'm talking because there's a little feedback on these lines. I'll tell you what I think is going to happen, and a lot of this is just my opinion. Oops. and most of the pundits and so on and so forth don't agree with me on that. But basically what I think is going to happen is I think that we're going to be coming into not a complete recession, but a slowdown. And as the slowdown comes in, the Fed is actually going to be lowering interest rates in the future. And oddly enough, I think that these lower a worse economy is going to be good for the stock market and is going to force it up. You still there, caller?
Yes.
Okay, so anyway, that's what I think is going to happen. All right, thank you very much. I really
Have a good
appreciate your
night.
call. Oops. There we go. By the way, the number here is 629-0683 or 629-0708. I'd be happy if anybody could call who wants to call, and I think that's part of what's so great about this particular show and about this particular format of direct dialogue. Let me repeat those numbers. It's 629-0683 and 629-0708. And until I get another call, I'll talk about something else. Oh, another call's come in. Hello, caller.
Yes. I was wondering, do you have any specific topic of today's show?
Not really. The main
Okay,
topic.
good, because I got a question.
Oh, sure.
What do you think about English being the only language official in the United States?
Okay.
Living down here in Tucson, Arizona.
All right. I'll be very honest with you. I don't believe in English only or English only laws.
Muy bien.
And I'll tell you why. Basically, when the Founding Fathers put the Constitution together, they could very easily have put in an English-only law and put that in the Constitution. Well, one reason they didn't put it in the Constitution is that the citizens of the United States, only the white citizens were allowed to vote at that time anyway, were basically, most of them were Anglo-Saxons, but a lot of them were French-speaking, a lot of them were German-speaking, and they didn't want these people to vote against the Constitution when it came up.
Sí, sí. Yo creo y misma cosa. Porque yo soy de la ciudad de México, ¿sabes? Pues,
Okay, I'm sorry. Unfortunately, I myself don't know enough Spanish to be able to respond to you.
yes.
Thank you very much for your call.
Yeah.
Hello, caller. You're on the air.
Hello.
Hello, how are you doing?
Fine. How are you?
Fine.
I was watching David Brinkley and the president talking the other day, and this is what our president said. He said people should be able to pay their income tax now that interest is low. What kind of sense is that? I mean, he said it. I'm not putting you on.
Okay,
I mean, what kind of reason is that?
all right, and let me try to relate the two issues, because it certainly does sound like they have nothing to do with one another. 15% of the budget right now, and that's obviously going to get worse year by year by year as long as we have a deficit, is paying the interest on the national debt. So as interest rates go up, the deficit goes up because we have to pay more and more interest. So as interest rates go down, then there's some relief on the taxpayer. Now, if interest rates had gone way, way up, in fact, they'd either go into deficit or, in order to balance the budget, they would have to actually raise taxes. So I'm not sure that that's what he was getting at,
Well, I
but that
heard-
might be what he was getting
That's
at.
exactly what he said, and here I'm thinking, my husband and I saved for years, and we have CDs, and the lower the interest gets, the worse off we are.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. People on fixed income are really hurt by lower interest rates and not helped. Thank you very much,
Thank
ma'am. Hello, you're on the air.
Yeah. Why'd you hang up on me?
Oh, I didn't know that you were still on, to be honest with you.
¿Qué? No
Okay.
entiendo su lengua.
I'm sorry. If you want to, unfortunately, even though I don't believe in an English-only law, I'm afraid this is going to be an English-only program, only because I don't speak any other languages well enough to communicate.
You can have the Constitution say not English only, but you can't have your show the same way, huh? So
Uh,
what kind of federal pride is your show there, Reed?
Well, okay, thank you much. All right, I really appreciate those callers, and that was great that they called. I still got another 50 seconds, and the number is 629-0683 or 629-0708, and it was very interesting about the guy calling and speaking in Spanish. Unfortunately, I don't speak enough Spanish to be able to respond. Hello, caller, you're on the air.
Yo, what's up? Fuck that Mexican big motherfucker.
Oh,
Guys,
boy.
don't jive. You know what I'm
Okay, thank you very much. And the name of the show is Fed Pride. The reason it's called Fed Pride is because I'm a federal worker and proud of it. I really appreciate the callers calling, and I think that's great. Unfortunately, I don't have enough time to take another call, and I'm going to keep taking calls because I really like the technology that they've allowed me, and thank you very much for watching Fed Pride.